Okay, we're back. I've already started painting in some of these windows over here on the side and some of this area underneath the porch over here. And what I've done is mixed up several different colors over here to pull from. And I'm going to continue this section down here. And what I'm doing is really adding a lot of colors into this background, other than just this darkest blue color. If you can see in here, there's a little tint of green in here. At some point I'm going to have little tints of red. It's sort of the reflection of how the colors of the leaves and the flowers will affect the way you see the background colors too. And I'm wetting the paper first down here because I really want to see the paint kind of disperse into each other. The colors start to blend. Okay, and mixing my paint up over here. Just kind of touching it to the surface and letting it run. I'm going to dry off my brush and then just pull the paint up to the edges of the flower forms that are in there. Okay, double checking my picture to see where we're at. Should be dark up here too. And I'm just kind of pushing the paint around basically into the wet areas. And we can come back and make another layer of paint in this area if we decide we want to make it darker. Okay. And continuing over here. Making sure that I am painting the right places, not hitting any of the flower forms. And this is really getting more and more fun as I go along. And I'm really looking forward to doing the flower forms. Yeah, this section over here, I'm going to start having a little bit of the red from the flowers into this background. But first, mixing up the paint again, as always. Touching some of that blue in here. Dry off my brush and then kind of spread the paint around. And just pulling it all the way up to the edges. And I use the squinting technique to try to see what areas need to be the darkest. So if you look at the picture itself and just kind of squint, you get a better idea of, what's the darkest. Like this really ends up looking darker to me than this does down here. And I do want this to be a little lighter anyway, because I want you to feel like the depth of going underneath the porch. Okay. And I'm going to continue over here. Wetting the paper. And I have changed my water a couple of times during this process. After I got done using all that green on the trees in the background. I changed up my paint, my water, so that it wouldn't be affecting what I was doing. If you're doing this and you're not comfortable with this size 8 brush, which is what I'm still using, you can always go to a smaller brush if it makes you feel more comfortable. Okay, again, mixing up the paint, throwing some darks in there. Pulling it up to the edges. Pushing it around. And when you finish an area, you want to go back and look at the adjacent area that you've just finished and just double check and make sure your paint did make it all the way up to the edges of the forms you're painting around. Like back in here. And now I'm going to take a little of this magenta that we'll be using in the flowers. I'm going to tap just a little bit of it in here. Adds more interest and just kind of let it blend in. Okay. Now I have this stalk that has lots of flowers in it. Got a couple spots right here. And the spot over here. Okay. Again, I'm adding up this blue in. Dragging it out to the edges. And this is just such a great thing about watercolors, is that you can wet the paper and then just let the paint flow wherever the paper is wet. Okay, looks good. Again, I'm going to do just a tiny bit of this red color in there. Alright, and we're sort of using the same method with the windows. Like this one here has got some blues and it's got some pinks in it. You can see there's a lot of pink that's in my water in the brush because I didn't clean it out really good. So now add just a little blue into the what that's already there for the pink. Now I could have tipped the paper to let this flow together, but I've got these wet spots down here that I don't want to flow. Take the chance of having them flow to some area that I don't want them, so I'm not going to tip the paper. Okay. And then there's this big window over here that's almost kind of a pale orangish color, kind of like this one over here. So I'm just going to wet this whole area. In the original painting I did of this, I got this suggestion from my sister-in-law to put a silhouette of a person's head in one of these windows, which I did, which is kind of fun. Okay, so here's my orangish kind of color in here. And above it, same orange, but it's got a little bit of blue at the top. Okay. And then we've got some much darker colors up here for these windows, and these are really, really small areas, so I'm just going to not wet the paper first. And the actual picture of these windows are more complicated than what they are drawn out here, because all that complication really wasn't all that necessary and didn't really add to the overall painting. Okay. The basic idea is what we're trying to get across here is that this is a beautiful old Victorian house. Lots of details to it. Alright. So that's our windows and our colors down here. I actually do have some other darker spots in here that I'm going to fill in. But I may work on the leaves first before I do that, not sure. Anyways, next step will probably be working on the flowers, so I'm really excited to get started on that, and hope you come back.